Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I am Kellen Brauer, joined by Phillips. RedBud is in the rearview mirror, a halfway point of the championship that was a lot of fun, man. It was the 4th of July weekend. There was a lot of fireworks all evening long before the race, and some fireworks on the racetrack on race day as well. But first and foremost, Big Lou. His triumphant return to pro motocross, 3-week hiatus, 3-race hiatus, 4 weeks total. How are we feeling Monday morning post walking around?
Honestly, Kellen, quite okay. I was very surprised because, to be truthful, press day almost killed me. I was really struggling on press day. Like, it was not good, and I was very much like, I should not be here. Saturday, I actually felt completely fine until we were doing post-race interviews, and then two riders, Harrop and someone else, both said to me, "Why are you shaking uncontrollably?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just trying to get through this at this point." Like, I was getting to the point where I was so like fatigued and stuff that I was holding the camera like that. And then someone else, it might have been Chase, someone went, "You don't look very good." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, I'm just trying to get through it." But I felt a lot better than press day. Press day was really bad. Like, press day, I really struggled. But I did do a Rocky marathon on Friday night. And if there's anything that's going to pick you up from the ashes, it's that, because there is no tomorrow.
A Rocky marathon. How many movies did you get through?
3.5. But it's fine because I've seen the fourth so many times.
3.5 on Friday night?
Yeah.
How late were you up, bro?
No, they were. Well, I was just had it on in the background while I was working, and I got back to the hotel at like 3 p.m. and it was on TV. They were doing a Rocky marathon.
This is before we went to dinner then, because I'm like, Jesus, man, you got back at 8 p.m. and watched 3 movies? Okay, golly.
This is around dinner, kind of before and after.
Yeah.
Great films, honestly. I've seen them all before, and I love them anyway, but you just forget sometimes. I hadn't seen the third in a long time, and I forgot how good that is. And I didn't realize that Mr. T's origin... I even Googled this. I did not realize that I Pity the Fool comes from Rocky. I never knew that. Genuinely didn't realize that Mr. T was in, like, it never clicked for me. And then I Googled, after he said it a few times, I was like, did Pity the Fool come from Rocky? And I said, yes, that's where it made it famous. Did not know that.
Well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
Did you know that?
Honestly, no, but I'm not as much of a Rocky enthusiast as you are, so... But I'm glad that you got to revitalize yourself on Friday afternoon with these movies.
Well, we've
becoming
discussed
the theme of your life.
We've discussed, and people know from my interviews with Chase, Chase and I are very similar, as in we ride the emotional roller coaster of like movies and stuff. So I was off for bed at one point, standing in the middle of the room watching. I think that was actually the third movie I was doing that, watching Rocky fight Mr. T in the final one, even though you obviously know that Rocky's going to win because it's the final fight, and obviously it follows the traditional movie arc. But I was stood in the room like, come on.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Glad that you're okay, and you did look better Saturday. I will agree with that. So.
Yeah, I don't know what I did. Weird though, huh? Like, why would there be such a big difference? Like,
I think you just needed to rip the Band-Aid off, like get back. Like one, the same way Chase said he had to dust the cobwebs off. He's a little rusty. You were rusty Friday, He had to
maybe
get back into it.
If anyone out there has ever had Epstein-Barr or mono, I would like some advice, because I don't know what to do because I don't know whether to just go to the gym, but that isn't a good idea because I can't just be like, I'm going to start exercising now. I obviously need to rebuild slowly and surely, but I don't know how to do that. So if anyone's got any advice, let me know.
Well, honestly,
if a top rider or trainer is listening, is what I'm thinking.
This entire conversation is making me want to change what my first topic is going to be, so I might actually do that. But before we do that, I do want to get into a clarification, because our show last week spun off into something that it was not, as we were discussing, the trials and tribulations we have of trying to do the press conference and do the scrum and also get interviews and stuff like that. It turned into people believing we had said that MX Sports is banning us from going to the trucks, which is not accurate. They are trying very hard to turn us into going to the scrum as the main point of contact with the athletes, though. But I just wanted to clarify that because that's not what we said, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
and I pity the fool who misinterprets what we say.
and to be honest, listen, MX Sports, listen to us. We had a conversation on Friday, and the scrum was better this weekend. Is it going to stay better? I don't know, but it was a lot better this weekend. The fact that even Chase Sexton showed up to it proves that it can work. So,
yes, it was so much better, but I will say this. Without Chase there, although the attendance was good, we were still very much lacking stars of the sport. Chase and Tom, to a degree, really boosted the perception of the scrum, I feel.
Well, we were, and the same thing can be said about what happened at Southwick. When the 450s go first, we're always going to be lacking 450 star power because those guys are, in my opinion, worse than the 250 guys. It's just like, day's done, I'm out of here. And so Chase was like the only, other than Guillaume, I think the only 450 guy there.
Oh,
right?
Guillaume, how is Guillaume just turning into the best interview in the sport worldwide? Like, how have we got to this point?
Yeah, but I mean, like you said, so Vialle being there, obviously good. He had a bad day. And then Hammaker was there. Harrop was there. Jordan Smith was there. Like, there's some decent star power. No, but obviously, Max Vullen carried as well, too. So we
get Harrop and Jordan, they're fairly consistently. Yeah. So, like, that doesn't really feel much different to me. Let's do this, though, to build on. So, well done to MX Sports, proactive this week. Congratulations, KTM. Proactive, bringing us Chase, Tom, and Juju. Obviously, AP was gone, so full house. Well done, KTM. Appreciated. Kawasaki, fairly acceptable participation. Well done. Suzuki, we had Paturel there. Thank you for that. Triumph, as we said, great. Now we just turn the page. Yamaha. Zero participation, zero effort, zero care. So, Yamaha, if I'm writing on your scorecard right now, it says must try harder, D-.
Yeah.
And because you know what really sucks about this very shitty sport that we're in? Haiden Deegan is maybe the biggest star that we have worldwide in motocross. He's the championship leader. He had won all but one race before RedBud. He just went 14-2, and not a single person in the press conference, in the scrum, in the pits, not a single person managed to talk to him. So no one knows. But we do have a PR with a very bland quote which came out today. So it took 2 days for anyone to have any sort of Haiden Deegan information or insight. So that's must try harder there. But well done to everyone else. Great to see the participation. Ducati didn't bring Caroli, but we'll let them off. You know, first day of school. You're not going to be fully versed in the goings on. But Yamaha, yeah, feeling a little blue about the participation from Yamaha, you might say.
And to also further clarify this whole thing, the scrum dilemma, if you want to call it that, is a much bigger problem of the teams than it is of Feld or MX Sports, because they're simply listening to what the teams are asking of them, which is we don't want these guys at our trucks for various reasons. But then they also do not follow through and bring their athletes very often. This weekend was great. 9 times out of 10, it's not very great. I'll hit back slightly on the Yamaha thing because Moseman has been coming to these, but I don't know if that's a Yamaha directive. I think that might literally just be Moseman
walking around.
Yeah, I think that's Moseman doing his own thing
with wide eyes. Oh,
but I agree. Like
maybe there's a homeless man over here that I can adopt.
If you're Yamaha, this is the day that Haiden Deegan needed to be at the scrum. I'm sorry that he probably wanted to leave or whatever, but that was a huge story, and I agree with you. So
yep, even just bring him over and go, guys. He's only doing one interview, so you all need to crowd around him at once, and he's going to answer 5 questions. There's 5 of you here. You each get 1 question.
Sure.
Who wants to start?
Exactly. Yep. That's what happens in F1. I mean, Max Verstappen got bombarded this past weekend too.
You know the over the hedge meme of the turtle guy stood like, what is this place? Yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like that was Chase when he walked into the scrum.
He was. Yeah, there was a bunch of rabid, hungry interviewers ready to pounce. So, yeah.
Also, in the interest of clarification, am I doing YouTube Dumbass of the Week?
You can. I could do TikTok Dumbass of the Week, though. I have one.
Should I do the one that I sent you yesterday regarding Chase?
I don't remember it, but Yeah. Why not? Do
Remember,
you want to do it right now?
No, let's keep the people wait. It's the highlight of the show. We can't
I agree.
give the people what they want so early.
I agree. I think we should do it right near the end of the show so people are sitting on the edge of their seat.
Stay
all the way
tuned.
through.
The YouTube Dumbass of the Week could be you. If you're listening right now, this could be you. How exciting. Stay tuned to find out.
Okay, let's actually get into our show because we haven't even started our topics yet.
Yeah, but no one cares about the show. This is better.
No, they don't. They do.
No, but this is the best part of any podcast. It's just the bullshit. Once it gets into... I say that all the time to Steve about Pulp. Like, I look forward to the guests being finished because I enjoy just the bullshit element where it's just chatter. And like everyone agrees with Steve's review pod as well, I think, that when it just goes off the rails and it's just discussion about the most random shit, it's when it shines. I think that chemistry is very important on a podcast. Like even with my MXGP podcast, goes off the rails. I think that's when it really starts to become quite a intensive experience.
Yeah, speaking of off the rails, with your MXGP podcast, I listened to your 2005 in review pod all the way through. And what I love listening to it, I actually audibly laughed that you guys got hour and 15 minutes into it, maybe before you actually said who won the championship that year. That's how far you guys were in before you even said it. So
yeah, well, it's not really important, is it?
Not really.
Tackled Yoshiatsuta, Jussi Vevalainen, but then we're like, yeah, by the way, Evert's won the championship. Well done to him.
Okay. So definitely check that out if you haven't already. Good review pod or year in review pod with you and Adam Wheeler over there on Vital. But let's get into this show again. Thanks to Leatt, Racetech, Namura, and Partzilla. We'll tell you guys more about them throughout. And let's just kind of continue on with the topic we just brought up. This is my first topic of the day. Where are we at level of concern with Haiden Deegan? He crashes in qualifying. He gets a Charlie horse. First moto, he's not really making progress and then has another crash. Then seems like has some maybe bike issues or something that held him back a little bit. So first moto was, I mean, basically by far his worst moto of the year, but I think there was a lot more at play than just, one or two things. And then second moto, he fought back good, got second in the moto. He definitely charged late. But then after the race, I don't know if you've seen this, but like some of his comments he's been putting on TikTok and Instagram and stuff suggest that he was maybe even told he shouldn't race based on how bad his leg was. So are we concerned at all about this? Like, I don't think so, but where are you at?
Well, first of all, the most important thing is if anyone can tell me what the story is with Charlie and his horse and how he somehow got an entire injury named after him as a result, I'd love to know because that's fascinating to me. Secondly, Hayden's TikTok is brilliant, but yet abrasive because it's so unfamiliar for a sport like ours. But it's great because it's actually what our sport needs. Just it takes a little while to get warmed up to it because it is so rare and weird for us. But it is genuinely what would make Haiden Deegan into a Lando Norris character or something of the sort. He's very active on there, replying to comments. There's a lot of examples of him talking to fans or being fairly cocky in the comments, which, again, I'm fine with because that's what we need, personality. And yeah, I don't know, if he's going to comment saying, I wish you guys knew how bad my leg is or whatever, then we're going to need more information. Like, I hate when people do that. Like, Lewis, you were shit on that podcast. Yeah, well, if you knew what I was dealing with. It's like, well, if you're going to say that, tell me, because you've just told me you're dealing with something. So if you're going to go as far, like if you really care about keeping it a secret, you wouldn't say that, would you? My point. But no, Hayden's fine. His championship lead, it feels as though it was fair. It was barely dented. Obviously, it was. A chunk was taken out of it fairly considerably, but it's still 38 points, is it now? That's Haiden can manage that even if he's seriously injured, which he isn't as far as I'm aware. So, bad day. They happen, and I'm kind of dismissive of it after that.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all about the championship. To me, I think that this is still going to be an easily won championship for Haiden. But I am a little bit curious about like the rebound this week because we saw how frustrated he was when Hymas went 1-1 at Thunder Valley. Like he came in pissed off at a high point, put gaps on people, and I think he could do that at Millville. But if he is a little bit hurt, is that maybe the wrong approach? Like sure, win, like go for the win and stuff like that, but don't override it to a degree too. Because like let's say if he does and the injury is holding him back a little bit, but he wants to prove a point. You know what I mean? Like I just wonder how that balance comes into this weekend where if he's a little bit hurt, but he's also pissed off, how do those things weigh into each other?
Bigger picture, and I've said this in multiple places, so I'll try and summarize it quite quickly. Bigger picture, if you look at last year, Hayden's season is tracking exactly the same as what it did then. In 2024 Pro Motocross, he won 4 of the first 5 rounds, with the other result being a second, so identical. Then at round 6, which was what we had this past weekend, he finished 5th overall, identical. And then in the final 5 rounds, he only won once. So I'm curious if that is some sort of play, keep it strategic, keep it safe in the second half, and just bring the championship home. Maybe maybe the quote-unquote injury pushes that even further, gives him the awareness of, I don't need to win every time, now I'm in championship mode. So maybe we see almost identical scorecards from 2024 to 2025. Or he bucks the trend, and as you say, comes out firing and wants to prove a point. But ultimately, there isn't a reason to prove a point. We all know how good Haiden Deegan is on a 250. We don't need that to be proven to us. Now, I understand why he would use that to fuel the fire, of course. But, yeah, I just find it very interesting, the fact that last year's Pro Motocross season was so heavy on the start of the season versus the second half, and also how we're heading in the same direction.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was a trend in Supercross. I don't really think
Supercross
so.
Supercross is much more down to inconsistencies in his form.
Mm-hmm.
He's not in a position in Supercross where he is outdoors where he can play the strategy game, in my opinion, because I think he's too close to the competitors where it's like, oh, I got to start and I won, or I didn't get to start and I didn't win.
If you had to theorize, though, based on kind of where he was at the end of the second moto this weekend, a week to kind of recover from that. But obviously, Shimoda's kind of clicking on all gears, maybe now a little bit too. Does Deegan win both motos this weekend? Do they split?
I'm going to say that Deegan doesn't win both races this weekend. Okay. But I don't know why I say that, because I don't know who would beat him.
Well, Joe, right? Like, Joe's clearly the best other guy now, right?
I don't know. It's fluctuated fairly dramatically, hasn't it, from one week to the next? I mean, this is the first time Southwick's second moto, but it's not like Joe's been the best guy every single time, or the second best guy every single time. You could make a case that Levi's first moto ride was the standout at RedBud, and therefore he's the guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I just think that this is kind of Shimoda's MO, to take a page out of what you just said about Deegan. Shimoda's MO has always been getting better in the second half, and never really starting strong, which is why his 2-2-2-2 to start the year this year is maybe the biggest outlier in performance for him. But now I think he's got the ball rolling in the right direction, and this is going to be more of the norm for the final 5 rounds for him. Maybe some crashes or whatever affect that, but I think that speed-wise, he's podium or win every week at this point.
Just to rebuttal, looking at Joe's Pro Motocross career here, the only example of him following the Supercross trend of starting slow and getting better is 2023, the last year on the Kawasaki. He didn't podium before round 6 and then podiumed in 4 of the last 6. But other than that, 2022, he was fairly consistent from start to finish. Last year, he was actually better in the first half.
Well, his rookie year was the same too, I believe. I think that's where the trend started, because he podiumed the last race. He was getting better all the way throughout too. So,
not 20. No, 2020 and 2021 could be examples of that. Yeah, so kind of split.
Yeah, a little bit split. But I think the synopsis of this whole topic is Deegan's fine. Nothing to
yeah, Deegan's fine. Do you think this popped up somewhere and made me think the other day? Do you think part of the reason that Deegan has sidestepped the nations is because he is reluctant to race against the stars of the sport on a 250 and therefore be at a disadvantage? And although none of us would care, and if he finishes 10th, we'd all go, well, he's on a 250. Do you think there's a little bit of the first time I raced Jet, or insert name here, I want to be on equal machinery so that I can send a message. I don't want to have them blow by me, even though there is the very acceptable justification of being on a 250. Do you think it's like I can't accept the loss that I am almost certainly signing up for?
No, I don't think so. I thought you were going somewhere different with that, but I don't.
Well, where did you think I was going?
I thought you were trying to say that he doesn't want to race Kai de Wolf and all those guys.
No.
Yeah, I was like, where are you going? The people are going to fight back on this. No, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I would say no, because I think that in his mind, I think that he thinks he could run with those guys on a 250 even, and like almost would want to prove that, the same way Villapoto did in 07. Like, I could go win a race at Motocross of Nations on a 250, and then we would all just shut up, basically, but I think, I think in the past, it's simply just been down to like, they're not making any money to go, so why would you go? That family's always been very strategic about how they monetize things.
Yeah, or is that the public message?
No, I think that 1 year for sure they didn't want to go because the team wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
and that pretty much became the public message. But then last year is just like, why would?
Well, no, last year was the wrist.
Yeah, sorry, the year before that, 2 years before that, when he was a rookie, I guess. No, I think it's just down to like a bunch of different other factors that I think he wishes he could go prove a point there. But at the end of the day, they look at it as a business decision, and if they're not going to make money not do it, then don't go. But Ironman makes sense because they're not going to have to spend much money to do it. Team's not going to have to spend a bunch of money to do it. So just go do it. Anyway, that's my first topic done. Let's talk about Leatt, shall we? Leatt protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. And pretty cool Leatt custom helmet this weekend, the 9.5 Moto helmet by them that I saw on Colt Nichols. Had like a really cool, like almost flame American flag graphic on it. So I like that a helmet brand like that is okay with like a full custom design, Yeah. Some helmet brands are really particular about it has to be our, line of helmets that we put out that, is portrayed to the public. But Leatt seems to lean into the custom stuff a little bit too. So that's cool.
Well, we know about the snow leopard or whatever it was I said it was.
Yeah. Are we
I can't
back to
remember. Was
that
it
again?
snow leopard of what I said? What did I say?
No, it was I don't remember what the animal was, but I think you got clarification the next week, and they're like, "Yeah, no, we've never done that."
Oh yeah, it was no. The animal just doesn't exist. What I was saying, I can't remember what it was. I think it was something that just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
Sad.
All right, so I'm gonna actually change one of my topics. I'm gonna push my second topic down to my third topic and bring a different topic we did not discuss beforehand to the forefront. Like you talked about with yourself, you're dealing with this mono Epstein-Barr thing that you're trying to, balance your fatigue levels at the races now. And we found out a lot of information this weekend that there's some athletes going through that as well. Seth Hammaker, Julian Beaumer, and now Aaron Plessinger, who just took to Instagram.
I didn't know any of that.
Really?
Where did you find this out?
Well, I interviewed Hammaker and Beaumer, and they both said they're like, Beaumer's getting blood tests done right now.
Okay, so Beaumer isn't definite.
Yeah. And then Hammaker, he was telling me, he's like, I had no energy in the second moto. I was getting exhausted. And I said, is this like a overtraining thing or like a nutrition thing? He's like, no, it's an autoimmune thing. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you're also dealing with something of the sort. And he said, we're trying to figure it out. The 2-week break after Loretta's is going to be huge for us to try to just fully reset. He didn't say he's getting tests done like Beaumer. But that they're working to fix it, and I'm assuming that's probably part of it as well. And then AP just came out on Instagram before we started this podcast and said why he didn't start the second moto is, again, his energy levels completely faded in the first moto. He went from running right behind the Lawrence brothers to finishing 6th and then couldn't start the second moto. I heard report fever is why he couldn't start. But yeah, he's also dealing with something as well. He's said he's going to try to get it figured out this week. He'll be back in for Millville. But yeah, so we got these guys now. I'm sure there's more too that are starting to deal with this, and this is always kind of what happens, I feel like, in the dog days of summer with this sport. But should we be that concerned with any of these guys? Like, are any of them going to just be done after the next couple of weeks to go and try to get healed up?
Well, just to be clear, the way you presented it at the beginning was as if they all said, I've been diagnosed with Epstein-Barr.
No, I didn't. I was saying, like, it sounds like
it came across. So just to be clear, they're all thinking that maybe there's something of the sort and are trying to confirm.
Yes.
No. I mean, it makes sense. When was the last time the Hammaker raced this much?
Yeah.
Like, that makes perfect sense. Juju, I mean, he's still fairly new to it, so it's still a bit of a shock to the system. And AP, although he's missed the end of Supercross a couple of times recently, his record for consistency is fairly watertight, or it has been since he got on the KTM. So all of those riders, similar to Chase when he missed time, have been very active lately. So it makes sense that they're feeling a bit run down, but maybe it is just that, and they're a bit tired and like run down, and they just need a couple of days off rather than being diagnosed with Epstein-Barr or something of the sort. Yeah, I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure what any of it is. It took me aback when Juju was very upfront about the fact they're going to go get tests done, and Hammaker was not backing down from the fact that it's some sort of like disease that he's dealing with. I didn't say, he's like, it's not Epstein-Barr, but it's along those lines is basically what he got at. And he also said, which I thought was interesting, that he felt it in Supercross too, but he could like push through it easier because, you know, it's less wear and tear to do a 15-minute main event. You can kind of like hide that a little bit more. But he told me he had days after Supercrosses that he was like exhausted, just like took it all out of him. So,
well, maybe Supercross was a mental toll as well.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that, again, based on his words, not mine, he was very much like, I've been dealing with this all year. So,
well, conveniently, the Kawasaki PR has just been sent out, and Seth Hammaker says in it, I've been dealing with an autoimmune disease issue for a while, and the longer format races and heat are very exhausting on top of it. I'm trying to manage it and figure it out currently. We're going to drop back to 1 day a week of riding to see if that helps with the stress of the races. I know I can ride and carry the pace, but it's about having the energy to be able to carry on throughout the day.
I think that's actually from my interview, because I believe the Cowie PR lady was standing next to me.
Well, to be fair, they did that with my Prado interview as well, so maybe that it probably is the case.
Yeah, that's what he said. There you go.
Well, now Kellen's interview is no longer an exclusive. Sad.
I should have typed it up though, and like regurgitated what he said. But I mean, there you go. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, some of these guys are really starting to deal with some real stuff here, and I feel like it's not really been talked about at all. Like, I feel like those guys, Juju, to me, he said he felt it after Hangtown. They sent him to Florida to try to work through this, also work on ruts. And he said that in hindsight, he tried to like push through it, like overtrained and all that, and just felt worse and worse every week. And he even told me during the week, he's like borderline getting lapped at Baker's.
Yeah, he told me on press day, he was like, because at Southwick, he went like 20-22 or something. He said, yeah, that was really good considering how bad I was riding in the week. He said Carlos went up to him and went, considering how you were riding, I'm actually quite happy with this result. But then I like pushed back and I was like, but Florida isn't sand. It's just a normal track. Like, how can you be struggling that much? It's just a normal outdoor track. It's just loamy. Like, doesn't make sense. And then, but then he randomly threw it out at the end of the press day interview and was like, and also my hand's fucked. And I was like, well excuse me? So we've got just riding terrible for no reason, hand, and now blood tests.
But now there's a reason why he's riding terrible. So it all ties together.
Yes, but at the start of the press day interview, he didn't allude to any of that. It was only when the hand had a hand in the conversation that he started to reveal that there were issues there. But he never mentioned autoimmune disease to me.
So let's quickly end this with this.
And also, there is, like Chase said, I've been dealing with lingering health problems.
Yeah, lingering stuff, yeah. Let's end it with this. You know, theoretically, they're all dealing with something. It sounds like Juju's is maybe the worst of it all. Is there a chance they pull out, like, early to maybe heal up for SMX or whatever? Like, for example, Derek Drake is dealing with Lyme disease. He pulled out this week, and he didn't race RedBud. So, like, there's a lot of these guys that are taking the opportunity basically to fully reset before SMX, and I feel like that might happen with some of those guys.
I feel like it's more likely with Hammaker and Juju especially, because I feel like Juju can win SMX, whereas his outdoor season is gone at this point. Mm-hmm. So I could see that, whereas Hammaker is arguably still one of Pro Circuit's great hopes. So maybe he's kept around, and also he hasn't raced a lot, so he kind of needs to get his reps in and finish a full season, not only for sponsors and whatnot, but just for kind of his own mental checkbook. Like, he needs to go through this, I feel, because I don't know how much he's actually gone through it. But yeah, no, I don't know. I think AP keeps going, although I do think that AP sounds like he's got Epstein-Barr.
Yeah, something. Definitely.
I plan to become a bit of a messiah for the Epstein-Barr contingent. So after the chapel service, I'm going to do my own service for the survivors, such as myself. And just, stand up and quote Rocky lines and say, I pity the fool who's got Epstein-Barr.
I swear, if before Millville, if you, AP, Juju, Hammaker, Derek Drake all end up in a hotel room watching Rocky movies on repeat.
Well, that's part of my game. I'm going to be like a Jehovah's Witness for Epstein-Barr. I'm just going to go around on Friday, knock on truck doors, and be like, "Have you heard about the terrible disease that's striking everyone down? I'd love to tell you more about it." Pamphlet.
Yep. Well, I would love to tell you more about Namura, because Namura Technologies has been a trusted name in performance engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 20 years. From complete rebuilds to high-performance upgrades, Namura delivers precision-engineered parts built to perform under pressure. Their expanding lineup includes cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and cylinder kits, all designed to meet or exceed OEM specifications. Find full product details and application coverage at Namura.com. Thanks again, Namura, for backing the show. All right, quickly, let's kind of run through my last topic really fast here, because we're already halfway through the show. Basically, let's turn it away from the negative and talk about the positivity. There's a lot of really cool storylines in the 250 class at RedBud. Obviously, Joe Shimoda's first ever 1-1 with Honda. Jalek Swoll, P2 off a torn Achilles. Michael Moseman, his first podium since 2021. Ryder D, his first fastest qualifying ever. And a lot of other guys throughout the field as well that had great days. I mean, Parker Ross, P8 overall. Lux Turner, his best career result, 14th. Who had the best, cool story from the 250 class at RedBud, in your opinion?
Well, it's subjective, so I'm going to go Jalek, because I am genuinely very, very impressed by his comeback up until this point, even not including the podium. Even more impressed now there's a trophy. Second would be Moseman. Jalek is more of a fuck yeah story. Moseman is more of like a good for him story. So that would be 1, 2, and then I would go Ryder D, third on my podium. Final answer. Done.
Okay, so I agree with you. I think the Jalek story is probably the coolest part, but let's hit on Moseman for just a second here, because as he has said to, I think you and me both and a few other people, the Bobby Regan story of, you get on the podium, son, and you never know what's going to happen. He's on the podium now. Like, this, to me, almost guarantees he should be back at Star next year, right?
I don't know about guarantees. I think it very much comes down to whether they like him. I think this means that if they like him enough, there is justification to keep him. But I don't think it's overwhelmingly positive, where if they're a bit dismissive of him as a person, they'd be like, yeah, but it's only one part, So I think it comes down to whether they're desperate to keep him and they just need a reason to justify it internally. Does that make sense?
No, it does. But I think that in a way, Bobby and Mitch Payton are very similar, and the guys that do well for them, they find ways to keep them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but even if do well, 1/3 place is not an automatic.
You got a podium in Supercross too.
Yeah, but yes, it's a case put forward, but it's not like, okay, now we don't have a choice. Like, now we got to do this, maybe a win or two is.
Let me pitch it this way then. If Moseman ends up not on a factory team next year, do you think that's a disaster? Not for him. I'm saying the fans, when Masterpool was trying to fight for his life for a ride and winning motos last year, were like, that boy needs a factory ride at all costs. If Moseman ends up not on a factory machine next year, should fans be revolting?
No, because Moseman doesn't have this weird cult-like following like Masterpool does. Masterpool fans are insane. Moseman just has normal fans.
But that's not the point of my question. I'm saying, should we be upset if he's, with the talent that he's shown this year, not on factory equipment next year?
To a degree, yes. But on the other hand, you could say that he has been fortunate to keep a factory ride for almost 10 years. So I could see both sides of that coin, to be honest. Okay, yes, he deserves it, but also he's got one at other points when he maybe didn't deserve it. So, you give and you take.
Okay. Lastly, let's talk about Ryder D real quick. Again, I know it's not the point of the bit as you tweeted back to me, but hey man, it's time. Like he's
Well,
finally
no, but
showing himself a little bit.
that was down to your typo, not down to the story.
Oh, I thought. Okay, never mind.
You tweeted,
Look,
"We'll race them when we're time," but you didn't put an apostrophe, so it said, "Well, race them when it's time," and that isn't the bit.
That isn't the bit. Okay,
Because
great.
it's a different word.
He qualifies P1 at RedBud. P1 both sessions too, and he said to Darkside post race that like
Darkside's questions really elegant and almost like scripted. You could say.
You could. But he said that he almost looked at the first session as like a fluke, and then he backed it up and he's like, okay, no, this is where I should be. And he also said it felt normal to qualify P1 because he's been that level kind of his whole career until he turned pro. So are we back? Like, is it time now? Ryder D is going to do this every week?
Do this as in fastest qualifier?
No, like do this as in like suddenly be top 5 performance type of guy.
Well, I was going to say do this as in a 6 to 12 guy and 6, 7, 8 overall. Sure, I think that's the next logical step. I don't think the top 5. I think that's still a step too far. But if he can now get back to being 6, 7, 8, which is kind of where he's been at his peak this year, then I think that is entirely possible and should be expected as the next step.
Okay, so you don't think because like even when he was solid last year, he never did that. He never qualified P1, and it really in the second moto, in my opinion at least, he should have finished 4th. He crashed out of 4th place.
Yeah, he's underrated is he made a lot of progress in both motos. Like first moto, I think he went from 25th to 12th, and second moto, he went from 11th to 6th. So,
well, to 4th, and then crashed back to 6th.
Yeah,
well, crashed back to 7th, and then passed Volan. So
the results are truly not representative of riding.
Yeah, but so like it just, I feel like this was a different step. You know what I mean? Like more of a lurch than anything he's done the last few years. Do I think that it's going to happen every week? No, but I think we have to be on the lookout now for a random Ryder D like 3rd in a moto kind of thing. Like I think that's totally possible suddenly, you know?
I still think that's a little of a bit of a step too far, but if it continues like this, it seems like it's on the horizon. Let's say that. Like it seems more feasible now, but I think it's still going to take a little bit of time to get there. Fair?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's fair. All right, let me tell you guys about Racetech. For 40 years, Racetech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern to vintage, Racetech is your go-to source for suspension performance, and a lot of people could have used Racetech this weekend when they hucked the leap and came up a bit short. I don't know if you saw Valentin Guillau's post, but my goodness, did he ever case the crap out of it at 1.2, and he just bounced off it like no big deal. So congrats to him.
That's Guillaume for you.
That is Gio for you. All right, second half of the show, Big Lou, what you got for me?
Well, should we run the YouTube Dumbass of the Week now? I think that's a perfect transition period.
Sure.
Keep people guessing. The YouTube Dumbass of the Week. Welcome to the fan favourite segment. Still need a sponsor. Could be you. And it also could be you that's a YouTube Dumbass of the Week. But this week, it is Sunreal Clothing. And this is a comment on my Chase Sexton interview from RedBud. It's a long comment, so I'm going to try and paraphrase until we get to the real clincher of what gave this person a dumbass of the week. Not a fan of Lewis at all. Love Chase Sexton, though. Why is Lewis always asking Chase mental questions or assuming Sexton's mental game or what he should have done on the track? All of the BS for only a qualified mental coach, therapist, team manager, riding coach, etc. should be asking Chase. Somewhat okay at this point. Now we get to where we get into the YouTube Dumbass of the Week. It seems possible that Lewis could be a significant cause of Sexton's mental challenges. What do you think how much stock do you think people are putting in these interviews? The riders, I mean. Like, how on earth do you believe that I have the power and the influence to essentially cause Chase Sexton to have a meltdown? It's insane to me that people think that we are that powerful.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like every other week I learn something new about what people think of media in this sport. And like mostly of late, it's that we're all garbage and pieces of trash. But apparently we also have such a massive influence over people that we can affect their daily lives.
The media in this sport is so dumb, why do they even go? But also they are so powerful that they could completely derail the personal life of the sport's top racer.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense.
All right, can I do my TikTok dumbass of the week comment too? Okay. I already tweeted this one, but we'll rehash it because now it's fucking perfect. TikTok dumbass of the week goes to TMF196 on TikTok. He says, and this is in relation to a Jet Lawrence suck-off fest that he believes we had on the show last week. He said, "Stop it. Talent is not getting the whole shot and winning. It's being almost last and working up to the lead and winning. Stop praising this guy." What more do you want, bro? What else just happened this weekend, huh?
It is weird that there are commenters out there who really just think that Jet isn't any good and this is just circumstantial, which is bizarre to come to that. Like, if we're talking about a single 1-1, sure. But at this point, it's quite clear how good he is. And it's crazy to me that there are people that are just like so dismissive of it. Like, you can say he's not. You could say if Eli or Chase started with him, I think they'd beat him. Sure, like, okay, that's perfectly reasonable bench racing, whatever. But to just think that Jet is literally no good and it's all just luck is mad. Yeah, and it's also mad that these people have the bravery to leave their comments. I mean, my guy. He's written a novel. Like, he's really listened to this interview and he sat down and gone, well, let me put on my reading glasses and really type out my thesis here. You know, it's not like, fuck Lewis, stop talking to Chase, which is a very emotional, quick comment. No.
Yeah.
He has sat down and been like, I need to tell the world the truth here.
All right. Well, this has been your YouTube and TikTok Dumbass of the Week, presented by This Could Be You.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's sweeping the nation. Maybe we'll do a prize for the dumbass, like give them a dunce hat or something. Maybe Leatt can make a dunce hat. Right. I've got 7 topics, so I don't think any of them...
Long show.
No, I don't think any of them are... See, I feel like I've got 2 moto, but to be honest with you, I kind of can't be bothered. I kind of just want to do the silly stuff.
Do it. Why not?
No, let's do... So I've got 2 moto. We can either do both of them, one of them. One was I wanted to talk about SMX playoff points because Chase, Jet, and Eli are 4 to 8 and are obviously all going to move up. So I just thought we could discuss, like, is Jet going to pass Chase? Can any of them get into the top 3, especially now that's possible with AP kind of questionable? The top 2 seem safe, but Webb has a knee injury. Is J. Coop now guaranteed to be the top seed, etc., etc.? So do you want to talk about that? Or my other topic, which I feel like I've talked about to death at this point, is the Tom Vialle to Honda HRC offer that exists, without doubt.
Why don't we just quickly go over both of them then?
Okay. And then we'll get into my 4 non-motos.
Okay. Where would you like to start? Do you want me to say something about SMX?
Sure.
Okay. So, no, I've actually been kind of keeping track of this because I think it's fascinating that J. Coop is literally about to pass Cooper Webb for the lead. He's going to be the number 1 seed in SMX at this point. I mean, it seems basically a foregone conclusion. And then, yeah, I believe if this is the version of Sexton we have first race back, that he's going to get to AP because I think he can go like 2-2 or 2-3 a lot. And AP is going to have some motos still where he's up there, but he's also going to have motos where he just is 7th or whatever. So,
so I agree. I think J. Coop will end up being the top seed, and I think that AP will fall behind Sexton. But Jet is 36 points behind Chase. So does Jet get Chase? That's really tight. I feel like that'll be really close. Whether Jet gets him or not, I think it will be close.
If he wins out, he gains 30 points no matter what. So, yeah.
But
I think he can.
But based on what we saw at RedBud, I feel like Chase is going to automatically slot in and be the number 2 guy.
No, I don't. I don't know that I think automatically because I think that Chase is still going to have plenty of motos where like he said this weekend, he should have raced the combine because the starts are so bad. And then I think Hunter or J. Coop or someone is going to just be up front and like not be able to, like Chase won't be able to catch him because he's too far gone, kind of thing.
There's no way that Jet gets to Jacob, is there? There's just no way, unless Jacob DNFs a couple of motos. So
he's 141 points behind him. There's no way.
So you're locking Jet into the 3rd spot, Chase into the 4th spot. Hunter is probably going to move to the 5th. Hunter and Tomac
I think
are
AP stays
tied.
5th. I think AP would stay 5th if that all changes that way.
Well, it depends if he races. The rest of the year, I guess. And then Hunter and Eli are going to move up to maybe 5 and 6. They're 7 and 8 at the moment. I don't think they're going to... There's not really the room for them to go any further than that because it seems as though Webb, Cooper, Sexton, and Jet are going to lock out the top 4 spots.
Yeah, try to remind me to... I'm going to put the current standings on the screen for the show at this point so people can also see along with this.
So, okay, brilliant. We're done with that then. Lovely.
Well, we should say it for the audio podcast listeners real quick. Webb is on 516. Cooper's on 502. Plessinger's on 459. Chase is on 398. Malcolm Stewart on 382. Jet Lawrence on 361. Hunter Lawrence on 301. Eli Tomac on 297. So there's a massive gap from J. Coop to basically the Sexton Stewart Lawrence thing. So... But yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for those guys to move up. And it matters because the playoff points really did actually kind of affect the way things went for the first 2 rounds last year. I don't think it would have ultimately decided the champion, but it did make Jet really have to fight for it, I think. So,
I mean, it's not entirely impossible, if Jet wins out, which is a big ask for Jet to get to J-Coop. Because if...
No, come on now.
If Jet wins out, God, I'm going to have to do quick math.
If Jet wins out and J-Coop gets...
That's 300 points. And if J-Coop gets, on average, 5th place the rest of the way, that's 180 points. So if J-Coop has a couple of bad motos, like a 10th here and a whatever else, but then J-Coop doesn't really do that.
I mean, unless J-Coop crashes, but then, okay, we don't know where Webb's situation is at currently, but he would also have to catch Webb, too.
I think looking down the list, I think Ferrandis could be in trouble, and Justin Hill of dropping out into the LCQs. Nah, maybe not. I mean, you've got Prado coming, and then other than that, it's RJ.
Well, I think I was theorizing this. I think because of the beta guys being 19th and 20th, they either both get bumped out or one stays in, and I think it's down to Gio and Kulas for the final transfer spot.
And the interesting one with Gio is he told me that if he's not in a transfer spot, he's not going because it's too risky. So that's quite interesting to follow because it's very much a hard line.
There's a guy last year that did that too, didn't there? Wasn't there another guy that just missed the transfer and then didn't go? Was 20.
Was it Justin Hill? No. I don't know.
I thought it was a Euro guy. Maybe I'm wrong.
But yeah, that's quite interesting to follow. So secondly, the Tom Vialle thing. So is it signed? No. Does the offer to go back to MXGP with Honda HRC exist on the table? And is it more money than what he's got to race here? Yes. Is it more essentially contract to contract? The one to go back to MXGP is significantly better in every single possible way. He's got to make a decision here coming up shortly. I think that in every imaginable scenario, it is the best move to go back to Europe with Honda HRC. Because from what I know, the KTM deal is 1 year. So that isn't much stability. And at the end of next year, Kawasaki will be full. Yamaha will be full still. Honda will be full still. Basically, there isn't going to be many ways to move around. So if KTM don't want to continue running a third 450, he could end up in a bit of a precarious situation. So I think from stability and financially, it makes perfect sense to go back to Europe as a champion, which he is. Almost like the scenario, it's almost like applicable. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That is almost where I feel with Vialle's American career. If he leaves now, he goes back as the man. It was a success story. Yep, I can still demand so much money from MXGP teams. And also, he's so young. Leaving America as a champion, maybe he could come back in 4 or 5 years. Whereas I feel like if he continues racing here, his value will drop significantly or not. I don't know, but I don't think his value stays the same. So I think it's just merely a dilemma of do I want to leave America and go back to Europe, because it is a commitment to come here. So I can understand that it would feel fairly what would you say? I don't know how you'd phrase it, but I can understand why it would feel like, oh, well, what was the point in coming here if we're just going to go back and going through all the hassle and whatnot? So I can understand that part of the dilemma. But contract to contract, situation to situation, I think he should go back and be the hero.
Yeah, so 3 things with this for me. In speaking to him Friday, I asked him, like, hey, I know that, this rumor's on the table or whatever, and you haven't made a decision. When do you hope to make a decision by? And instead of dispelling it and saying, like, no, I will be at KTM, which has pretty much been the narrative until, like, last week, he's like, yeah, we're trying to figure it out. I hope to make a decision in the next 3 weeks or so. To me, that's, like, all the answer I need to say, like, yeah, if he's even thinking about it, he's probably going to go.
Yeah, and
so
I asked him as well post-race, and similar, he didn't deny it. He said the last 2 weeks have been insanely stressful. He's over it. He is done with thinking about it, and he just wants to make a decision. Like, it's very clear that this Honda HRC offer exists, which is very surprising. So the timeline of this for me, I tweeted it on Tuesday last week. It must have been after this show. No, the day after this show. I heard about it on Friday morning before Southwick. Someone texted me and said they thought I was at Southwick. Someone texted me and said, go up to Vialle and ask him about his Honda HRC offer. And I literally replied, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, it literally came out of nowhere, because it's so rare for there to be a rumor or an offer in this sport that is completely out of left field and no one even spoke about it or considered it. So and then I went back and forth with this person and kind of dismissed it and was like, yeah, that's ridiculous. That's insane. He's signed at KTM, or he's going to be, that's insane. And then Monday, another person messaged me, because I did text a few people and say, hey, have you heard anything about this? And one of those people texted me on Monday and said, oh, I just spoke to so-and-so. Yeah, you were right. He's coming back. He's got a really good offer. And the source was so good that's why I tweeted it. Because I was like, well, that source is so good and so disconnected from all of my sources, but it has to be true. And it was.
Yep. So my other 2 things with this is I think he should go. I think he should take it. It's a better money deal. It's a longer-term deal. There's a lot of, as you said, moving parts with what's going to happen in the silly season here in the 450s for the next couple of years, and he might find himself on the outside looking in if he doesn't have a fantastic rookie year next year, which I think he could, but he also could not. And
he gets injured, and then what happens? Yeah,
exactly. And then I think if he goes, he shouldn't come back. I know you said that he's young enough, he could come back, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, Porcel went back and raced 3 years or 2 years of GPs over there and then tried to come back and have a career in the USA. And Porcel's so different. I get it. But, dude, like, make a decision and commit at this point. Like, I don't think you can keep thinking, the American dream, it's still maybe there. Like, go become an MXGP world champion and rack up a bunch of dollar bills and have the rest of your career there if you go, in my opinion.
I just think it would be so cool if he was MX2 world champion, 250 Supercross champion, MXGP world champion, and then came back and had some sort of success, whether that's a 450 podium outdoors. Like, there's never really been a career like that. And you say that Porcel went back and raced, but it was Porcel, so let's use raced in, what are they called? Parentheses?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
quotations.
I don't know. I guess the only caveat to this is, could he race here next year with KTM and then go back if he needs to? And I guess so, because maybe HRC would just re-up Fernandez on a 1-year deal, but the money would be a lot less, I imagine, because he'd essentially shoot himself in the foot, because then he's kind of going crawling back. Maybe he can work something out with KTM and be like, I want a 1-year deal in America on a 450, but I want an option to go back to GPs on a 450 the following year. Maybe there's a possibility there, especially if the Coonans are on their way here. Like, maybe there's a crossover.
Let me ask you this just real quick.
Justification.
You know more about this than me. What does HRC have for 2027?
Well, nothing at the moment. They've got nothing
That's what I
for
mean.
They've got nothing for 2026. But that's what I mean.
They might also not have anything for 2027,
No,
even
yeah.
if they figure out 2026, right?
But
So that's what you're saying is like
it could be possible. But I've been told before by someone at HRC, when the HRC ship comes sailing by you, you either jump on, or because it never turns around, it never comes back. You either get on when we come to you, or we're out. And I've seen them do that with multiple riders. I've said to them before, that example was used to me because I said to someone there, you should sign so-and-so. And they went, we tried 2 years ago, and then explained that story to me. No, that's what I just said. He could do that, but he would be going crawling back, and if they still want him, 100% they would go, yeah, but the offer's now half, because we don't, like, your value's gone down, and clearly you need us, because otherwise you wouldn't have come crawling back. So there's a bit of a game on that side, but from a competitive point of view, if he really wants to give 450s in America a serious go, then yeah, that's an option. It's just a little risky.
Give me your percent pie. He goes to MXGP versus stays KTM here.
90% goes back.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say 70-30, but yeah, I mean,
the way that everyone's talking to me, both involved and uninvolved, it sounds like it's done. Like not one person in the MXGP paddock has talked to me about this as if it is a hypothetical. Everyone's talking to me like, yeah, so when Vialle comes back, yeah, like maybe that's just because maybe I'm patient zero and they're taking that from my
they're
tweet.
just stirring the pot and pushing a narrative at this point.
Like, it's possible now that I think about it, but maybe that's my fault. But yeah, the offer certainly exists, and it's quite cool actually for Vialle to not just shut it down in interviews, and the fact that we can talk about this freely, because I don't feel like we have many situations where we know enough and hasn't been shut down where we can talk about it like this. So
Yeah. No, it's very cool. Very cool indeed. Let me tell you guys about Partzilla real quick. Partzilla.com is the premier OEM parts dealer and distributor. They sell OEM parts for Honda, Kawasaki, Polaris, Can-Am, Suzuki, Arctic Cat, Sea-Doo, Ski-Doo, and Yamaha motorcycles, ATVs, PWCs, and snowmobiles. Visit Partzilla.com to see their extensive line of parts and accessories. And results from the weekend, Partzilla PRMX race team, Mitchell Harrison was 16th. Cade Clayson ended up 31st in his return to action here, and I believe Jack Chambers made it straight into the motos, did he not? Yes, he did. 25th for jumping Jack Chambers. But he crashed in the second moto. He got points in the first moto, and then I shoot photos, as you know, and I was taking a photo of him and Thrasher battling after the leap, and I took the photo and then looked up the leap to see who's coming next. And then when I looked back, I saw Chambers was down. And I looked at the photo later, and you can totally see my photo. Chambers just washing the front end as he's going down. So kind of funny.
But Chambers is getting better. It's still a million miles from what Chambers can do, I think, but it's no longer a complete disaster.
Yep,
Catch the fever.
I agree. Catch the fever.
Right, we'll transition into non-moto with a fairly moto. I thought this would be cool, mainly because I was just thinking about it earlier, and I thought to myself, you know what, that's quite a cool LVK topic, and maybe people can get involved with their own stories. I don't know how you'd label it or title it, but let's go with something like defining moments from your motocross childhood, let's say, and not necessarily personal moments. So not, I really remember watching Ricky pass James at A1 and that stuck with me forever. No. More like stuff from your own riding or racing, moments that just stick out in your mind. Like when I decided on this topic, there were 3 moments that immediately came to my mind, like without even thinking about it. So I thought to myself, well, subconsciously, they obviously exist in me for a reason. You can go first.
Okay. I only thought of one, but it stood out to me as the first time I ever really won a race on a dirt bike. It was at this like support class race at Glen Helen on 85s. And I was a lot of the same people that I remember racing growing up and stuff like that, but I got a bad start and passed all of them. And I remember thinking like, holy shit, like I actually did that. Like it wasn't just like I got the lead and a bunch of people crashed or something like that. And passed all of them, and I just remember looking back, like coming to the checkered flag, thinking like, really? Like I just won this race, like it's insane. And so the fist pump and the hugging my dad after the race and stuff like that was just like I could have just never gotten on a dirt bike again and been like really happy that I at least won something racing a dirt bike, you know. So that one's still, I still have photos sitting next to me of me crossing the finish line on that day. So yep.
How many people were in that class?
10 to 12 or something like that.
We've discussed this before, but it's so crazy to me that events exist in America with that low. Like, if there's 10 to 12 people in a class at an event in England or a club race, that event's being cancelled due to low entries. That's wild to me, just for culture here. Like, I don't know why, but we've discussed it before.
Well, I'm sorry that I didn't beat more people.
No, I'm not saying it for that point of view. I'm just like the culture difference just confuses me, and I can't really figure out why it is. Because as we discussed before, there are so many more riders here and more opportunities and tracks, and so it doesn't really make sense to me why. But anyway, I feel like a bit of a dumbass now with mine because. I don't know. I almost don't want to say mine now, but I can't think of any others. I almost don't want to say mine now, but I guess I have to, don't I? Unless we just like put up a static image and say the show lost signal or something. No, mine are something. Mine are much more specific. Let's say, like mine are very much a moment that just randomly exists inside of me. So one of them, I don't know what the year would have been. I was on a Yamaha 85 for only 1 year. Hated that bike. Didn't like it. I want to say the track. What was the track called? I want to say it wasn't Allington Lane because I only went there on a 65. It was a track that I only went to once. It was a race and it was very muddy. And in practice, I was terrible because I was never any good in the mud because I just didn't have the confidence or the conviction that you need in mud to just send it. And obviously the slower you go in mud, the worse it's going to go. We all know that, but I just couldn't. I was way too hesitant, and essentially in practice I just tiptoed around and was shit. Come the race, I was sat on the line with more than 10 people because that's just how it is in England. And 15-second board went up, and my dad came behind me and put his hand on my back and just whispered in my ear, "If you don't want to do this anymore, we don't have to." And that sticks in my mind so much. And it obviously fired me up because I basically was 20 positions further up than I was in practice. Like, absolutely rode ridiculously better. And obviously he knew this would work. And it stuck with me forever because I've always thought to myself since then, like, I have more to give than I do give, kind of thing. That's phrased terribly. But, like, it always sticks out in my mind in moments when I feel like I can do more, and I'm like, well, no, you can do more. Sometimes you just need to kick up the arse. So that's a very specific moment, and that's all I've got. Because my other two are no,
they're two what?
My other one is a track called Fox Hills. I was on a KTM 85, and I much preferred my KTM 85. This would have been the year before, I think, because I went KTM to Yamaha, and there was this kid that I always battled with. His name was Jamie Strange, number 29 on a Suzuki. I remember this. People,
and if he's listening today, we salute you, mister.
Well, this story might go badly. Again, we have a lot more riders. So there were 30 or 40 riders in this race. And I started last, essentially, because confidence, I don't know. And he started like fifth. And I plugged away. And on the last lap, we ended up essentially, I don't know what position, but we ended up essentially battling. And I was really fired up because this is my rival for whatever reason. And there was like these 4 waves around a banked corner almost. I think it was, no, as I remember, the section was really weird. But I remember going around the outside of him in these waves and being it was, from what I remember, quite a good pass for me. And my dad was standing on the exit of these waves next to his dad, or like not with, but like close. And I remember out the corner of my eye seeing his dad go fucking mental, like really angry. And I distinctly remember the image of my dad just like doing a very subtle thumbs up like that, like very. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I've actually done well here. Like, I'm happy. I don't remember what the result was. I don't remember what position it was. I don't remember any of that. But I just remember thinking to myself, like, yeah, that was quite good. I did well there. Two things that I don't know why those moments stick out, because I had good results, I had good races, I The last race I ever did, I whole shot and led laps, but like that doesn't register with me. Like that's why I was more thinking. That's why I called it defining moments, because I don't know. Anyway.
You're making me remember a few other things. One I could tell you that was definitely more on like the negative side for me was when I was like pretty new to riding, probably less than a year into riding. I was on my PW.
Oh, PW, wow.
PW, yeah. And I ended up riding the 80 track at Lake Elsinore one day, which is like, you know, there's like the PW track and then like the 80 track. Like there's two different tracks. And my throttle stuck. And I didn't know what to do. So I just closed my eyes. And then I T-boned a kid on the other side of the track because I just closed my eyes.
Wait, what was the other kid? Was the other kid on an 85 or a 50?
Yeah, yeah.
So did he crash? Like, if you hit...
we both crashed. We were just in a heap on the ground.
A PW is so small that if you hit an 80 rider flat out, does the 80 rider just go like, what was that? Like, would you have enough speed to knock him off? Like, obviously.
As far as we both fell, and as far as I remember, we were both okay. Like, I hit his rear tire basically.
Well, luckily it was a PW. Otherwise, he would have probably.
But I do remember like closing my eyes. I opened them at one point and saw where I was going, but I was just like panicked, like just white knuckling the grips. T-bone this kid, and then I open my eyes and my dad comes running over, and of course like he's making sure I'm okay, but I can also hear him like apologizing to the other dad that's come over to see this kid that's also on the ground with me. And I just like, I mean, I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what you're supposed to do when your throttle sticks or whatever, and I just panicked. But definitely a learning lesson.
I have an identical story on a KTM 50. My throttle stuck, and I had no idea what to do. Eventually, I jumped off because I had no idea what to do. And I retired, I don't know how long. I quit riding after that for a year, 2 years, maybe? I don't know. Because no way it was longer than 2 years. Because, but that's why I never raced a 50. My first race was on a 65, and I never raced a 50 because that moment killed that period of my riding career. And who knows? Yeah. Maybe if I hadn't lost that year or two, maybe it all would have turned out differently. Maybe that was where I was going to really find my stride and build the fundamentals that I needed to be the Chase Sexton of the world.
Yep.
No, I like that topic. That's a good topic.
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets a little bit more insight. Now, the fans can really call us goons now, though.
No, none of those stories were particularly goony.
We've got, both of us were shitty at starts and had to pass people a lot. And then we didn't know what to do when our throttle stuck. So you jumped off the bike and I just T-boned some poor kid across the track.
That's panic. And also, there's so many stories of throttle sticking on 50s. And I don't know why.
I know.
Obviously, it's something mechanical with the engine and an auto, I guess. But no, to be fair, I was really fucking good. In my opinion, I was really fucking good at starts as far as like gate dropping and getting the jump, and then I just always backed off too early. Yeah, so I had confidence issues. It really held me back. No, I like this. This is one of the best topics we've done in a while. And I'd like to hear everyone else's input topics. No, not topics. Sorry. Similar stories, because I think we all have them. I think we all have them.
Yep.
I like that a lot. That's probably one of my favourites. Now, what else do I have, which is definitely a lot stupider? Well, actually, I wanted to talk about this quickly. This isn't a topic, but I wanted to bring this up somewhere. So, F1 at the weekend, Nico Hülkenberg got his first podium in 239 starts.
Yep.
Is there an equivalent to this? I can't think of anyone. I feel like our podium is much more obtainable, and therefore you have guys that just got their podium or whatever. I can't think of any particular story.
The equivalent, because it almost happened, was Chiz when he got on a Star 250 and got fourth at St. Louis.
You know what? That's great. That's perfect. That is literally the comparison. There isn't even any
because if he had gotten on the
this.
podium, it would have been his first ever Supercross podium.
Yeah, that's perfect. And that's there's no better answer than that.
Great.
It's literally pointless continuing. So non-moto, we struggle with these because often they're dumb. So we'll rattle through them. If you met your exact double, but they were more successful than you, would you be happy or jealous? I'd be jealous because I'd be like, well, I fucking could have done that, and I just pissed away that opportunity.
Yeah, I think I'd be jealous, but I would be like grilling him about what he did differently.
But that's not the question. Happy or jealous?
Yeah, jealous.
I don't think anyone would be happy. Why would you be happy? You'd have to be a really caring person. Because
I mean, I think in general in life, like even not you, like you're always a little jealous of other people that are having more success than you, you know?
Yeah. Sad. Well, that was easy. If you could become invisible, but every time you did it, you aged 1 year, would you still do it?
Sorry, what was the first part of that?
If you could become invisible, so let's say at the drop of a hat, but every time you did it, you aged 1 year, would you still do it? I can't think of a reason why you would want to be invisible other than for creepy purposes.
Well, okay.
Like, I can't think of a constructive reason to be invisible.
I mean,
Okay,
other than just like embarrassing moments from my childhood, yeah.
Yeah, but that they would still exist because you would go invisible after the fact.
Yeah.
Because they would have to exist for you
What
to
about,
have the moment.
What about being able to, like, let's talk about for our career perspective, what if you could go invisible and just find out all the like juicy details? And then,
but just would you even be able to use that? Because then
you could just like, you know, text a couple people or contacts that you know and be like, I heard this. Have you heard this? Then they could confirm it, and then suddenly you just put it out to public and you know all the details.
Is that worth losing a year of your life? No.
Depends on how much you gain in your career.
Yeah, I guess it's not applicable to our careers, but if you were in some sort of very competitive industry and you wanted to slip into a boardroom meeting and hear what a competitor's doing, let's say you do marketing for Monster and you want to hear what Red Bull are up to, then yeah, that could really like benefit you and take you to new heights. So that would be worth it.
I feel like this may be a hot take. I kind of feel like Red Bull and Monster don't give a crap about each other.
Yeah, no,
they're
they
just
definitely
like
don't.
two companies that exist, you know?
Yeah, they literally could not. There is zero crossover between what they do and what they try to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like even down to athletes, I feel like Monster don't really want the Red Bull guys, and Red Bull don't really want the Monster guys for the most part, because the Monster guys fit the Monster image, and the Red Bull guys fit the Red Bull image.
Yep.
Yeah, that's quite interesting in itself. And then finally, written down, I had: would you take £1 million if every time you spent money, a loud foghorn went off?
For those American fans, he means dollars too.
Oh yeah. Didn't even register.
Take £1 million.
Well, to be honest, taking £1 million would be better because that would convert to like $1.1 million.
Okay, talk about your good economy.
I didn't know that.
Sorry, I forget now what the second part of that was.
Would you take £1 million if every time you spent money, a loud foghorn went off?
Yeah,
you get used to it.
What?
Well, I don't know if it's in your.
I mean,
ear,
is it like every time
annoying.
you? Is it like you go buy like a stick of gum at the store and the foghorns goes off because you spent 99 cents?
Yeah, so it would get a bit annoying, but it depends. If it's in the world, then who cares? But if it's in your ears somehow, then you'd be a bit like, okay, I need to fucking be prepared for this. You know and be a bit careful.
You know what I would do is I would almost lean into that, and like in sports, like a foghorn going off as someone scored. And so like I would just like get like a bunch of like balloons and decorations and shit to go off every time I spend money and be like that's a big celebration.
That's not going to work in Target.
Why not?
Because how are you setting that up?
You just put it in like your backpack.
Okay.
And it's just fucking whoosh.
Well, that million, you're going to spend some of that £1 million to invent or build a contraption that can launch whatever's in your backpack into the air.
You know what I just thought about though is like sitting here at my computer and ordering something on Amazon and then just like fucking loud ass foghorn goes off in your quiet house.
It doesn't say how long it. Yeah, but there you go. And if someone's sleeping or something, then it's suddenly a very big inconvenience, and it starts to become difficult in life.
Yeah,
like it doesn't say how.
I can't buy my wife. I can't buy my wife surprise gifts at all anymore.
Well, no, yeah, because who knows what you're buying? Doesn't announce what you're buying.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, I know you haven't been married yet, but once you're married, as soon as they know that you're spending something, the question is, what'd you get? What are you buying? Blah, 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 blah. So.
Okay. Well, then there you go. Then you'd have to do it. Yeah, the most random of top. We went from maybe the most deep and sentimental topic we've ever had to the most biggest collection of shit possible. But that's LVK.
That is, I mean, I think you just basically gave a tagline for the show. I think we just got to have that as our new slogan.
The two S's, sentimental and
Sentimental to shit.
S to S. There you go. It's very close to SYS, but S to S. Sentimental to shit.
Oh, man. All right. Is that all you got for me?
Yeah, this has been a very random show, but I like that.
It has.
But we haven't been this random in a while, I feel.
Well, that's the whole point of the show in the first place. We don't want to be just another review show. So
like, for some reason, like we discussed before, like, do we do Caroli? Do we do Chase? And it's like, oh, fuck, I've done that. Everyone else has done that. Like, I'm not in the mood. Sometimes I'm in the mood to rehash that stuff. And randomly, when I sat down today, I was like, I can't be bothered. I want to just talk about. I just want to talk.
Fair. All right. Well, good to see you, Big Lou. And we'll be back at Spring Creek in a few days, probably burning in the heat there as well.
Sounds fun. It's meant to rain, isn't it?
Oh, I haven't even looked.
I think press day it's meant to rain. I don't think race day.
Dude, if they cancel press day, all right.
Do you want? I have some intel actually on Millville.
Tell me.
I heard some new dirt has been brought in for the start and the first straight, and it's not very good dirt, and it's a little bit of a touchy subject. Like it's quite.
It's been I don't know who you've talked to about this in terms of riders this year, but every rider I've talked to about track prep this year is pissed off at all the new dirt.
Well, on that note, to silence all of the conspiracy theorists out there, I said to Guillaume, compare RedBud with AMA prep versus RedBud with MXGP prep for the Nations. And he said, it's so much sandier this year than for the Nations. Why is it so sandy here? And in my head, I'm like, oh my God. You were literally, there was months of debate and anger, and this almost burned down the industry. And you've just completely flown in the face of it. So that, I honestly don't know what to do with that. But that shocked the hell out of me, because he doesn't realize how controversial that opinion was. But there you go.
No, I wish that we could just insert that right in the middle of all that debate. It was 2018, right? That stuff.
It was, wasn't it? Because 2022 they won. So, and if you want to know what Guido thinks of ham sandwiches, go and listen to my post-race interview, because not so much RedBud talk, but he had one heck of a ham sandwich in Switzerland, apparently. So
in case you want to know more, head over to Vital MX for ham sandwiches and not knowing who won the 2005 MXGP championship until about an hour and a half into the show.
And there's also me coaching Chase on how to be worse at interviews, actually.
Don't do that. Don't do that, because you might be affecting his mental state.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Sorry. Maybe that's probably what he was in reference to. Because I was trying to tell Chase how to talk and act. And maybe he was right.
Just being a coach.
Maybe he's a YouTube genius of the week. The YouTube unearther of the week. I don't know.
Unearther.
Well,
all right, that's our show. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. Leatt, Race Tech, Namura, and Partzilla for backing the show. Off to Spring Creek we go, and I'm sure there will be plenty of lessons learned from that one as well that we'll rehash when we come back, but also we'll have some fun topics as well, because it's a good show. So
yeah, I'm going to Chipotle.
Okay. Bye, Big Lou. Good to see you.
Next week.
Later, everyone.